It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Online at joeskarting.com, fast-paced, white-knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs. You can find them online, joeskarting.com. As always, karting with a K. Get over to Joe's, even though the weather is marginally better than it's been in the last couple of weeks. It's still a great time to do indoor kart racing. The heaters are going, the engines heat, and the thing I like about it the most, we've been doing a lot of indoor racing lately with the Gateway Nationals and the Chili Bowl, and the most common thing that everybody talks about that nobody really likes to talk too much about is the fumes. You get those big engines in there that's locked in. I don't care how good of a air circulating system you have at those big places. Those big engines puts out a lot of emissions. Well, Joe's Karting went through and got some new eco-friendly Honda engines that put out less emissions, and last time I talked to Buddy Ray, they turn that air circulated 10 times an hour, which is, I believe, 4 times the minimum the EPA requires for emissions like that. They do a great job with making sure that when you walk in there, you don't get blasted with exhaust. It smells like a normal outside air. There may be a hint of exhaust in there because there's races always running, but they've got these giant fans that circulate the air perfectly.
And if you're already a fan and already going over a lot over there, I don't know if you've checked into it or not, but talk to Buddy over there or the manager on duty, and they've got some passes where you can buy like 10 or 20 or some, multiple races at a time and save yourself some money if you're going over on a regular basis.
That's what I always did. Whenever I went over with my friends, and I still do it, I'll buy 3 packs, 4-pack, or 3 packs, 5 packs, 10 packs at a time because the races don't expire. So when I can buy them in bulk at a discount, and with the premium memberships that they have now, which you can get more information on that online at joeskarting.com, you save a lot of money with getting these races in bulk, and then you can go and just swipe your card and race anytime. It's just like putting money on a gift card.
And I don't care who you are, saving money's always fun.
Absolutely. All right, today's show, we got a doozy lined up for you, as we always try to do. Sometimes we strike out, but days like today, I think we got a great one for you. In turn number 1, we are going to review the 2016 season for Furniture Row Racing and Richard Petty Motorsports. Now, both teams are smaller teams, so we're going to do 2 teams today for our NASCAR Spotlight. In turn number 2, we're going to sit down with Stan Cisar, the voice of the Speedway. He's going to talk to us about his experience down at the Chili Bowl over last weekend. He was down there with the Ledgers, and quite honestly, this is no joke. I'm actually very happy that he got back alive. If you've ever been in the pits with the Ledgers, you know that there's a certain fluid that flows around a lot.
Adult fluid. And
Stan, somehow he made it out. Good job for him. We'll talk to him about all that coming up in turn number 2. Now, typically in turn number 3 and 4, lately we've been doing the Legends of the Dirt series. We had Mike Nichols scheduled for today, but phone issues, timing issues, travel issues, we just weren't able to get with Mike. So we're going to try to get with him next week and do that interview and talk to him about his time in a stock car, his tying the IMCA single season feature record, just missing the Boone Super Nationals win. He's won 7 or 8 IMCA national championships. It's just ridiculous, the amount of wins that guy's had, and I love watching him race. He is truly one of the best, because you hear a lot of guys that
he's not a rubber, he's a racer. Right. He's clean.
Right.
His equipment's always there. He doesn't have mechanical failures.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got a 40-hour-a-week job maintaining his race car, and it shows on his results at the track.
Absolutely. We'll dive deeper with Mike next weekend for the Legend of the Dirt series. So the Legends is going to take a weekend off, as we're going to sit down with a legend in his own right, a winning driver and a great promoter, Joe Kosiski, the promoter and co-owner of I-80 Speedway. We're going to talk to Joe about the I-80 Speedway schedule and the Malvern Bank Super Late Model schedule. Those are going to be in turns 2 and 3. Turns 3 and 4. So we got a big show lined up for you today. We're about 5 minutes into the show, so let's get down to talking about Furniture Row Racing. Martin Truex Jr. in 2016, it was the single car operation. They had just switched from Chevys over to Toyotas in 2016. I can't remember an organization switching to a manufacturer and having such a success right off the bat. Was that Dirk? Do you think that was a product of Toyota being on an up climb and the switch at the same time? Was that what that was? Because Toyota was they definitely had some momentum.
Well,
at the end of the 2015 season.
Yeah, I mean, it turned out to a breakout season for Martin, which was great because he really seems like a decent guy. I've never had the chance to meet him. I know we've tried to get interviews with him, and he's just popular at the track, so we haven't got that done yet. But being tied up with Gibbs, if this would have been a move that was done a couple years ago and they might have got tied up with Michael Waltrip Racing instead of Gibbs, don't know where they'd be. But
True.
Gibbs right now is the top of the heap. They are, they didn't have the champion this year, but they had two guys, in the Final Four.
Yeah.
So, and the champion from the previous year. Gibbs is at the top of the heap right now. And to be tied in with them, and what all information they get from them, I don't know. But obviously it's good information, and Cole Pern puts it to good use. And, I expect Martin to be a force coming up. And I just wonder this year with them picking up Eric Jones as a teammate, I just wonder if that's going to be a distraction to the A team.
Yeah.
We were looking that we thought Eric Jones was only going to be there for a year and going to come back to Joe Gibbs. Now with the Carl Edwards deal, who knows what's going to happen over at Joe Gibbs if Matt retires, if Carl's coming back, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it might be a long time that Jones is there.
Back to Furniture Row Racing, I was really impressed that they didn't have any kind of an adjustment period. They came out the bat. I believe that Martin lost the Daytona 500 to Denny Hamlin by the closest margin possible.
Thousandth of a second.
And he continued all year long to have that strong. It's real surprise to me because I always like to give teams a year off when they switch manufacturers because it's not just the power plant underneath the hood. The design of the car changes too. So the crew chief's notebook is handicapped a little bit. He's used to the plus ones, the negative ones here and there on the Chevy body styles. Now when they switch to Toyotas, all those plus ones and negative ones on the body are switched out. Now the things I'm talking about is the aero drag for these cars. All the body manufacturers, all the bodies for the manufacturers in the Monster Cup series, they all equal out to be the same. But where those plus ones and negative ones happen on the car depends on the shape of the hood and the sidewalls and the A posts and the B posts and all that stuff.
Well, now the only thing that's different is the nose of the car. The rest of the car is the same. That's why when they go through the Room of Doom with the claw, it's the same for every car.
I would still think, even though the front of that car is different, that it would throw them off a little bit. But I could be wrong. I mean, these guys, these are the top of the game guys. And to your point, it wasn't like he was walking into this blind. He had Joe Gibbs Racing to say, "Can you guys, we're doing some data trading here. Can you give me some of your numbers so that I can kind of get acclimated with the way the Toyotas react?"
Well, and I mean, Toyota takes all the teams to the wind tunnel.
Yeah.
Toyota comes in with engineers and does that. When they came into the Truck Series in 2004, there was like 6 Toyota engineers with each team, and they only had 3 teams.
Yeah.
They had they were all multi-truck teams, but it was the Toyota engineers were in there, and they were like white on rice. It was they were everywhere.
Martin signed a contract extension in the middle of the 2016 season. He even took less money to stay with Furniture Row Racing. Truex is signed through the 2018 season. We do expect him back at Furniture Row Racing. We expect to see, obviously, Furniture Row on the side of that car, along with Denver Mattress Company, Bass Pro Shops, Auto Owners Insurance, Target Outlets, and 5 Hour Energy to be on the side of the 78 car again for 2017. Cole Pern, his crew chief, I couldn't find any information on his contract, but I don't expect to see anything coming up with him leaving the organization anytime soon.
Well, we haven't heard anything about it, that's for sure.
Yeah. You know what? Lately, just because we haven't heard about it doesn't mean it's not happening, because
that'd be news.
We've had the Carl Edwards announcement. We've had the Stewart Haas Racing switching to Ford announcement. I mean, there's been some big news announcements lately that you're like, where did that come from?
Well, but that's what I'm saying. If he would have left the team, we'd have heard about it.
Oh, left it. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about him working on leaving the team or being courted or anything like that. You very rarely hear any of that kind of stuff. But Martin got 4 wins on the season, one at Charlotte, Darlington, Chicagoland, and Dover, which was a big turnaround for Martin because he had a tough 2015. He should have won 5 or 6 races, but those little mechanical things. They were just the weirdest of things that happened that kept him out of victory lane. They were finally able to get over that hurdle at Charlotte, absolutely blistered the field.
Well, that was the most dominating performance that there's been in a cup race in years.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about Kevin Harvick being dominant at Phoenix. That's a different type of dominant. That's winning at the end of the being in the front at the end of the race, and having a good car all race long. Martin Truex Jr. had a 2-3 faster car than most everybody else. I mean, it was ridiculous at Charlotte.
Well, he led 392 of 400 laps or something like that.
He only gave up the lead to come in and get 4 fresh and some fuel. Darlington, Charlotte, Chicagoland, and Dover were his wins. 8 top 5s, 5 poles, 4 DNFs. Finished the season 11th in points, which I think it's fair to say is pretty disappointing for the season, the momentum he was having. But he got caught up at Kansas, racing hard, ended up with a 40th place finish at both Kansas and Talladega. You can't do that in a round and expect to go anywhere after that. I mean, even round number 1, you have 2 last place finishes. You walk away 2 points out of 2 weekends. You're not moving on.
No, I mean, he had the engine expire, which I believe was his only engine disaster for the whole season, but it just came at the wrong time.
Absolutely. Came at Talladega. That was also the race that Brad Keselowski got eliminated. That race and that round took a lot of really good guys out of the chase.
I mean, he had 4 DNFs for the whole season. He had 2 of them in back-to-back weeks.
Right, absolutely. During the offseason, Furniture Row Racing has been preparing for Eric Jones's arrival to the team. Jones will be their second full-time car driving the number 77 5-Hour Energy Toyota. Furniture Row Racing purchased the charter from the 46 of H. Scott Motorsports, who ended their NASCAR operation at the end of the 2016 season. Let's move on to the Richard Petty Motorsports. Eric Almirola signed for the rest of the season. We haven't heard about contract negotiations. If they're in the work for beyond 2017, they're our favorite sponsor, well, my favorite sponsor, Smithfield Foods, U.S. Air Force, STP, Fresh from Florida, are all expected to return to the 43. The team announced at the end of the 2016 season that they were going to shrink back down to a 1-car operation to better focus on making sure their car was at peak performance.
And I do believe they're planning on, at various tracks, a half a dozen, maybe 10 times during the year, of having a second entry. But I don't know if they kept the charter to where they can use that charter, or if they sold their second charter.
I don't think they had a second charter.
I see. I thought they had 2 charters, and that's how they were.
You know what? They may have, because they ran the 9 for so long, right? I bet they moved the 9 charter to the 44. Unless the 9 wasn't running the year they created. Anyway, I'll have to look back on that. For Eric, 0 wins, 0 top 5, 0 poles, 6 DNFs. Finished the season 26th in points. You could easily see why they wanted to reduce back down to 1-car operation. In 2015, they finished the point standings in 17th. Again, in the 2016 season, they finished in 26th. So 9-point swing that put them way back farther, and that's a lot of money missed out on.
And if you're down in the infield at Kansas on race day, go over towards turn 2. It's about 3 spots down from Rick Havenridge's motorhome is where Smithfield parks theirs. And they serve everybody a lot of bacon there on race day morning. And the King is usually over there signing a few autographs.
That's why, even though I drink a 5-hour energy a day, Smithfield Foods is one of my favorite sponsors. So that's Richard Petty Motorsports and Furniture Row Racing. We're going to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 2. Stan Cisar, the voice of the Speedway, will give us his thoughts and his recap of the Chili Bowl coming up next here on the Front Stretch.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the Front Stretch. Heading into turn number 2, brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube at Council Bluffs. Catch all the AFC, NFC action that the NFL has for you today on the big screens at Quaker Steak and Lube. Don't forget to grab one of their great beer or wing or so many specials. I don't have enough ands or ors to shove in this 60-second promo for one of our fine sponsors. Get down to Quaker Steak and Lube today. Again, all the AFC, NFC action on the big screens and all the great food and beer specials that you can handle at Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs. Time to talk to a guy who went down to the Chili Bowl last weekend in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The voice of the Speedway, Stan Cisar. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing real good. Boy, and talk about white knuckle racing. About 90% of the laps that were turned down there were all white knuckle. It's something that's been on my bucket list for quite a number of years. Now that I'm officially retired, I took some time off and made the trip down, spent a week down there, and I've been going, where have I been?
I thought when you said white knuckle racing, I thought you were talking about your knuckles after texting all that. Facebook updates.
I was trying to do a lot of that too, because everybody said send back race reports, let us know how everybody's doing. So I was trying to do that and keep my phone charged, and just probably the most fast-paced, intense racing. Everybody running at about 110% on every lap. Racing I think I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of laps turned.
I thought he'd probably be all wore out from wiping off his dry erase board, keeping the flip count.
The flip count, that was something else. Some obviously worse than others, but yeah, I think the final tally was up in the mid 40s for the weekend. Wow. And part of that's got to do with, and this is something that's been happening, everybody just wants to be a part of that event, and there were 80 rookies this year out of the 365 cars,
Okay, so the ending number ended up being 365?
Yeah, that was how many cars actually took a chance at qualifying. They had over 370 something. Wow. But just like the Race Saver Nationals, you always get a few more entries than people actually show up. But just a crazy deal. And people everywhere. You're crammed in. I spent a few races in the grandstands. Most of the mains I watched from the grandstand because it was the best seat. But really, literally packed in there like sardines.
Talk about, let's cover your experience down there before we talk about the drivers that came from this area that went down there and competed. Because like you said, it was your first experience. So we all have that moment when we walk into the places that we've wanted to go for so long. It's like that. Was that kind of like when you walked into the arena, you were like, oh, my gosh? Well,
exactly. The first thing was pulling into the parking lot and seeing the building. And I had often wondered how they spanned 11 acres, free span, and they've got kind of a cable set up similar to like some of the bridges, and that holds the center of that building up all the way down. And because it's braced from the center of the building with cables through some big girders back down to the ground on the side. But 11 acres is that building, and about a third of it is racetrack and grandstands, and about 2/3 of it is pit area.
Dennis Parker was with us at Quaker Steak and Lube for the Chili Bowl viewing party, and we were trying to explain the enormity of that building to some of the people that were there, and you could see it every once in a while on clips from Mav TV how long the lights went, and they were just drop lights that lit up the entire building, and it just went on until they turned into this little bitty speck.
Yeah,
you couldn't believe how long that building was.
It's incredible, and on Sunday move-in, most guys they're full size semi. Most of the big teams. They move in probably 50% big 40, probably 42-foot and larger trailers, and then at the end of the day, and they'll fill in all the rest of the spots around the edges and around the outside edge and stuff like that. And they actually move the trailers in, and they're about just 3.5, just enough room to get the side door open, about 3.5 feet between them. They actually move them in with forklifts because they can maneuver a lot better. And but it's packed in there like put in 150 Winston Cup trailers side by side, one on each end of the main aisle. There's actually 3 aisles coming down the length of the building, one on each outside, and then one right down the middle that's kind of a double aisle, and it's really pretty amazing.
Car show going on. I think there's a trade show. There's a lot that happens all week long, not just racing.
And the nightlife after the racing's over with, you find out where the hangouts are and et cetera, and we were able to have even a little private deal hung with Tony Stewart for till 3:00 in the morning one morning, and very knowledgeable guy, very witty guy.
You said what happened?
Huh?
Can we repeat that? What happened?
Well,
you got to hang out with
there
who?
there was a little party, Mr. T. Stewart, and it was quite a deal. And as far as running the racetrack, doing the dirt work, his ideas on promoting, and some of his just a pretty incredible guy to talk to. And
you're killing him, Stan. You're killing him.
You're all using.
I asked him to go. I asked him. I told him he should be going.
I know. It's on my plans for next year.
Your Legends of the Dirt series, you could do probably 2 years of Legends in the Dirt, because everybody that's anybody is in that building that week, and if you carried your recorder around there, you should put that on your bucket list for 2018.
It's on there. Don't worry. The budget's being created specifically for that.
And we had the newest super team, Clausen Marshall Racing, which is of course Brian Clausen's father, and they had a stellar lineup of drivers. Of course, Keith Coons, had his stellar lineup of drivers with Rico and Kyle Larson and Tanner Thorson, the 2016 champion in the midgets, and Schatz was there.
Davenport, you were talking about him being there.
First time in a midget for Jonathan Davenport, and he did well. Yeah. He probably didn't have the best car in the house, but it wasn't a terrible car. It was one of Zach Dom's cars, and Zach put his own car in the feature, so he wasn't racing junk, that's for sure. And he acclimated himself pretty good. Tim McCready, who was a late model guy, he's won the Chili Bowl, and he missed. He was in a B main, and he was one of the faster cars all weekend, but didn't make the show. A lot of guys that you could be an A feature. You'd think feature
Most
winners anywhere.
Nights,
they were down in the C, D, E features.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody posted a picture of Bloomer in the stands down there.
Yeah, Bloomer was roaming the pit area, and
that does it.
That
does it.
I talked to him. We did some decal work for him when he was there for the Silver Dollar Nationals, and we talked for a little while. Hey, how you doing? One of those deals, and he was posing for pictures. Going up and down the aisle, everybody stopped him, and we're taking a lot of pictures and stuff like that.
The only way
Danik goes right across the aisle from us with Ricky Stenhouse.
Who? Yeah, it's
Danica. Who's that? Ford driver.
Let's talk about your drivers from up here that went down there. Is this typical? Did this many local guys go down to that Chili Bowl? Because I haven't been following it for that many years.
There's always been a few. You talk about Dennis Parker. Dennis raced down there, I believe, when he was driving Bill Barger's midget. And then Terry Holloman, and now Tad Holloman is driving the family midget down there. But a lot of guys just because they want to be a part of the event. Joss Most, who races modified, builds the Edge cars, he had a pretty good run down there a couple of years ago. He actually bought a car from Justin Allgaier.
Yeah, we had him on the show the weekend of the Chili Bowl got kicked off. So he was talking about acquiring that car.
I heard it was quite an expensive ride, but I tell you what, it was worth the money because he picked up a heat win in one of the preliminary nights and didn't go quite as good in the feature event, but still he qualified for a D main for Sunday's final mains, and I think he run up, I want to say about 15th. I got notes here someplace. I was trying to recall all my memories.
There's a lot of drivers you kept track of.
Yeah, exactly. And it was, like I said, it was just an incredible deal. Shaylee Bade made her first start at the Chili Bowl. They rented a car down there. The first car she rented, they burned a piston on practice day.
Oh.
So they brought out a backup car, and they hurry up and changed all the lettering and the numbers and stuff like that. And she had some issues in her heat race night, qualifying night, but ended up in an end feature, started up toward the front. And as we were talking about, off the air, pretty narrow racetrack at the beginning of the day on Saturday, and started with the O features. Tad Holloman started up in the front row. Cody Ledger started back about 13th, I think, and they end up running first and fourth. And Cody just had terrible luck all weekend. We were down there, and he was in a transfer spot, which would have probably put him in one of the qualifiers for an A or a B on preliminary night. And C.J. Larry, a well-known USAC guy, drove through him, took him out. So he starts I think 16th back in the D feature for the preliminary night. Works his way all the way up. He's running fourth, and he's passing Davenport for third. The second place car spins out right in front of him, takes him out, and bent, I think, every bar on the front of the car. Well, that gave us something to do the rest of the week. But
I just wanted to pause real quick. For those of you who are newer to dirt racing like me, he did actually say an N and an O feature. I know those things were pretty common back in the sunset days.
Well, the 360 cars.
Yeah,
365 cars. It was like, we had up to an L feature at the Race Saver Nationals last year. But this deal, each night they had 11 heat races. One night they had 12 heat races. They had 2 D mains, 2 C mains, 4 qualifiers, which were the fastest 40 in passing points, and those 4 qualifiers seeded your A main and B main for that night.
How many heat races did the Knoxville Nationals have?
Oh gosh,
or features, were they down to an L? I can't remember. Maybe we should call Chris Krug and ask him.
I don't think they were quite that far.
One of the biggest.
I thought it was like an F.
Yeah, F, G.
They didn't crack 100 cars.
There's an inside joke between Stan. We've had it on the show a couple of times. We love to poke fun at Chris Krug, who's the weekly announcer at Knoxville, because they have the quote unquote largest sprint car show.
They used to have the largest sprint car show in the nation.
Yeah, and now that's down at Eagle.
Yeah,
the real title, but prestigious. Yes, that still goes. But we like to give Chris a little
very prestigious. That's to be sure, and not to take anything away from that event for sure. But we're hanging and banging now, so that's a good thing. But so talk about all those races. Jake Neal, guy that races late models and modifieds from Omaha, Nebraska. He rented a very good car. He rented one of AJ Fike's cars, and they're very good cars. And he had a pretty good run. John Clabundi, who races 360 sprints down here, he's a former Eagle track champion. He ended up. We talked about Tad and Cody, first and fourth in the O, moved up to the N. Shaley starts second row, ends up running third. Tad started, I think, 10th, got up to 5th, and Cody started 16th and got up to 6th. They only transferred 4, so they were done. So Shaley moves back up into the M feature, started toward the back, and pretty much stayed there. Got a 15th place finish in that M feature.
How many cars were they starting for those features?
In the features, they were starting 20 cars. They had 16, and they transferred 4.
Got it.
And then... I take that back. They started 12 cars and transferred 4, so it was 16 down in those lower features. Then when they got up toward the front of the front of the deal, they were transferring 6 cars, so there were more cars in the feature. But Jake Neal ended up finishing 12th in the K, which had a pretty good run. He caught some serious air on lap number 1, but unfortunately kept it on all 4 wheels.
Good.
John Clabundi ended up 12th in a J feature, and he's another guy. He had a pretty good run going, and a guy drilled him and took him out pretty much late in the going. Otherwise, I think he'd had a top 10 finish in that one. Next guy, not really from Omaha or this area, but races around here, and he's got a connection. He's engaged to Ron Sardison's granddaughter, and it's Jake Bubach. He's out of Colorado, and Jake spends a lot of time at Eagle and has been at the Nationals last few years. He had a 4th place finish in an E feature, which transferred him up into the D. Also in that same E feature, Don Drow Jr. from Lincoln, Nebraska, picked up a 15th place finish. So Bubach transferred up into one of the D features, and when you get into that end of the game, things starting to get pretty tough up there, and it's pretty hard to transfer. So he ended up 14th in a D feature, and he was, I guess you would call him the highest finishing of the local flavored cars. But I got to put an asterisk on that from Hastings, Nebraska, and he's in the Nebraska Racing Hall of Fame. Terry Klatt. He's been a long-time sprint car and USAC midget and champ car owner. He had 3 cars in the field, and his top driver, Damian Gardner, finished second in one of the B features, transferred up into the A, and came all the way from the back of that A feature to a 10th place finish. So Damian gave Terry Klatt another top 10 down at the Chili Bowl, and it was good to see them guys with the Bob East chassis cars, and they did really good. Kyle Larson got tied up in a wreck. He was in a transfer spot, got tied up in a wreck, and didn't make it out of the D. Rico was in a wreck, but being the past two-time winner. He got a provisional, so he started 25th in that A feature, raced his way up to, he was running 8th about halfway through the race. Same deal. Crash happened right in front of him, and he had nowhere to go and got involved, so he had to go back to the back of the field again. But a guy that's been close last couple of years, Christopher Bell, held off Darren Pittman, a couple Oklahoma natives, so the locals really liked that down there. They were making a big deal out of that. I think it had been back into the 1990s since the last time somebody, I think it was Andy Hillenberg, that picked up a win that actually was from Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. But Christopher Bell took the win. Darren Pittman was second. Justin Grant, another young guy, he drove for the Clausen Marshall team, finished third. Tanner Thorson in another Keith Coons car. He was the USAC National Midget Champion in 2016. Picked up a fourth-place finish. A couple more youngsters, Jake Swanson and Tyler Courtney. Zach Dahm, we talked about him. Jerry Coons Jr., another guy. Coons came, I believe, out of the C main into the D main, all the way up into the A main, and cracked an eighth-place finish in that deal. So, I mean, it was crazy competition. Sammy Swindell, a five-time winner, got tangled up with Dave Darlin, the People's Champ.
I got such a kick out of that, by the way.
On the last lap of a B main, and I heard I was in the grandstands during that one, but I heard things got quite heated down in the Swindell pit area.
I believe it was Dave's wife that called Sammy a cheating SOB.
or something like that. but I'll tell you what, it's something that, if any race fans, and I spent the whole week because we were, we're down there working on the car and et cetera, et cetera. But boy, at least to try to get down there for 1 or 2 days of that deal, it's something that you have to really see it to believe it, and it's on par with the competition. I think any races that I've ever been to.
Well, it's definitely on the list. I think you definitely make a good point that we could do a lot of Legends of the Dirt Series interviews while down there.
Oh, so without a doubt.
And we're working on getting over to like PRI and doing more off-season stuff to be able to do some Legends of the Dirt Series. Always appreciate you joining us, Stan. I know we're going to have you back on in a couple of weeks to talk about the Eagle Raceway schedule, the Sprint Series in Nebraska schedule, and a lot of sprint car races to come.
Talk about Eagle Raceway. World of Outlaws is going to be back at Eagle Raceway again for 2017. And Johnny Gibson, who's the announcer with the World of Outlaws, he calls Eagle Raceway, and in his top 50 of the raciest tracks in the United States, Eagle is number 4. Wow. And we talked down at I-80 last year at the World of Outlaws show in the booth, and Johnny says, we got to get these guys back to Eagle one of these years, So I'm glad they got that put back on the schedule, and look forward to talking to you in a couple weeks.
We'll do it again. We'll be back here out on the front stretch.
Thank you.
There is no such thing as an off-season at Joe's Karting. No matter how cold it is outside or how much snow is on the ground, you'll always be warm and dry inside at Joe's Karting, the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Located in Council Bluffs on 23rd Avenue next to AMC Theater. Find Joe's Karting on Facebook or head to joeskarting.com for hours, pricing, and a schedule of booked parties. That's joeskarting.com. Karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's Karting today and find out what all your friends already know.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Heading into turn number 3, and it's time to get the lowdown on what's going on with I-80 Speedway, the famed I-80 Speedway. You, Joe, Lisa, Steve, Grace, Bob, probably Grayson. What's your dog's name?
Yeah,
you guys have all been busy working on this I-80 schedule. I know that you've had some headaches, you've had some excitement, so let's talk about it. When's the first day?
I-80 schedule come out last night at our banquet. So everybody knows that the banquet went on last night, and the banquet has the first seen I-80 schedule. But our first date will be our meltdown, our spring meltdown on March 31st and April 1st. On the 31st, we're going to run the MLRA super late models with stock cars, B mods, and A mods. And the next night, we're going to run the MLRA late models for a 3,000 to win show with the Sprint Series of Nebraska will be there that day, and the B mods and the hobby stocks.
So the Race Saver 305s will be in the house.
Yep. On the Saturday show.
Okay, that's on that Saturday night.
Yep.
I'm just glad you didn't announce a $1 million purse for that April Fool's race.
Oh, that is April Fool's Day.
It's April Fool's.
What can I do that day, Joe? What can I do?
Oh, we're going to do a whole lot of stuff.
Maybe in the driver's meeting.
There you go. Okay, so we go the next week. April 7th and 8th is going to be, that's our Bug Eater. So during the Bug Eater, we're going to have the Nebraska 360s on Friday night with Stock Car Pro-Ams, Compacts, B-Mods, and A-Mods.
So it's pretty much going to be a full night. That's going to be a big class.
Yep, that'll be a full night. And the Saturday night show will be the 360s with the bragging rights, the Compacts, the A-Mods, and B-Mods. So the Hobbies was in there on one of them days. I don't remember if the stock cars we moved to Saturday or the Hobbies we moved to Saturday. But then we start the next 2 weeks later, we go to April 21st. We start our NASCAR weekly shows. And this year, something new that we're going to do is the hobby stocks are going to have a lot more time with us this year. I've got about 11 NASCAR hobby stock races scheduled in. We have some nights when the NASCAR late models are off or the bragging rights, and we're going to have the hobby stocks in. So the first 2 weeks we're going to hit with big full fields on the both Friday nights on the 21st and the 28th. And then
your NASCAR weekly racing, as always, starts about 7:05, 7:15?
7:15.
Okay.
All of our Friday night shows start at 7:15. We try to start the other shows usually at 6 o'clock, other than the Silver Dollar Nationals. And then Friday, May 5th, we're going to run the Bobby Parker Memorial. So the Nebraska 360s will be there with all of my NASCAR classes except for the super late models, and the bragging rights late models will not be in that night.
Okay.
We go back to the 12th and the 19th. There'll be NASCAR shows. One night's missing hobbies. One night's missing A-Mods. So you can look at the schedules on this and get it all corrected. So May 23rd is going to be our Lucas Oil Go 50. That's going to be Lucas Oil pay $10,000 to win. It'll be a Lucas Oil sanctioned race.
And what day of the week is that?
That's on a Tuesday.
Okay, it's going to be a Tuesday again?
Yep. And it'll be $2,000 to win the A-Mods that night. So that's why the A-Mods are off the week before, because they're going to be there running for $2,000 to win that night.
Got it.
Then we go Sunday, May 28th is the Charlie Clark Memorial.
My
Charlie
favorite.
Clark, Dan's favorite
Love
race of
that
the
race.
year. This year we're going to have at the Charlie Clark Memorial, I'll have Stock Car Pro-Ams, which is new to it this year.
Okay.
Compacts, I think they're new to it. Yeah, because we run bragging rights last year.
Yeah.
But this year it'll be Stock Car Pro-Ams, Compacts, B-Mods, A-Mods, and hobby stocks. So
And sticking with the same kind of formula, we're doing the double features.
Double features, $2,022 to win each one for the A-Mods, and it'll be a raised purse for the rest of the classes. Yes,
I know
sir.
we got a long ways down the road for this question, but are you going to – what's the pit time going to be like? Because we do the first segment of 22 laps, and then the field comes along the front stretch and parks on one side of the chalk with the crew on the other side of the chalk, and then we sound a horn, and they've got – I think one year we did 2 minutes and 22 seconds to make changes. Last year, I think we switched it to 4 minutes to make
No,
changes.
we done 4 minutes the year before. We done 2:22 last year. We didn't get as many changes, so we might try to go back to.
I like that.
You like it? With
I
it not
like
doing
them
the
running
changes?
around. I mean, it's a little bit of a safety hazard
Yeah.
because those guys will try. They'll lift the car up if they can to change that tire to save some time. But I like it. I think it's fun.
It's really neat because, switching that field around and everybody that the first half of the race, the leader's trying to lap as many cars as he can because the second half of the race, he has to invert a full 24 cars if nobody falls out and he doesn't lap them. So
all the lead lap cars are inverted with the leader going to the back of the lead lap cars. So yeah, he's pushing hard that first. I can't say it. I love that race.
Yep. The next week,
tell?
Friday, June 2nd, we better get Dan geeked down a little bit here. They always say he's geeked up. This time we're going to have to geek him down. On Friday, June 2nd, we're going to be running the USAC 410 wingless sprint. You've never seen them on a half mile like I-80 Speedway. USAC being there. We're running that in conjunction with Knoxville racing on Saturday, June 3rd. So there's guys talking from California. It's when I talked with USAC here about a month ago, they said it's being the biggest talked about weekend they've got coming. So
that's great to hear.
They're actually looking at a 23, 24, maybe even 26 car field coming to run that race. So
now, these are just regular 410 sprint cars, though, without the wings. They're not like the Champ cars, are they? I don't even know if they still have those USAC Champ cars.
I think they're regular sprint cars, but I'm not going to tell you yes or no because I really don't know.
Remember those champ cars had those huge tail sections? They
Yep.
had like 60-gallon fuel cells and stuff.
I
on
don't
them?
believe that that's what they are. I believe these are more the sprint car with the 410 and no wing.
I know Dave Darwin said he was eyeing that race. He was going to be there. He was one of our Legends of the Dirt series. And
When USAC's there that race, that's going to be the first night of the Malvern Bank Super Late Model Series. We'll be there that night also. And the B mods will be the support class. So there'll be 3 classes. We want it to be a good race night and just have a great time.
good.
We come back to next weekend on June 9th. We're running NASCAR classes again. The following week, we come back on June 16th, and there's no super late models and no bragging rights late models, but we're adding GATRA to the schedule. Oh, I'm sorry. That's June 16th. That's MSCS we're adding to the schedule on June 16th.
The Midwest Classic Stock
The Midwest
Car.
Classic Stock Cars, yes, sir. The next night we come back on June 23rd. It'll be NASCAR classes minus the hobbies that weekend. June 30th. The SLMR series will be back. There will be no bragging rights that night. The rest will be NASCAR classes. July 7th, we're going to run our NASCAR classes, and that one's going to have the GATRA series with it, and it's going to be the Bill Rick tribute.
Awesome.
So they're telling us, I'll bet we have 24 to 26 cars, and we're going to do the best we can do to help tribute to Bill Rick. Bill was a friend of my dad's.
Yeah.
And one of them deals that we want to do something. So GATRA's going to be there that night. That was the last Class Bill run, and that's what we're doing on July 7th. July 14th, we come back with the NASCAR classes, and then we pop into the Silver Dollar Nationals on July 20th. The Thursday night show, of course, will be the Malvern Bank Super Late Models with the Nebraska 360s and the B mods. That's been one of the That night
That's been a great night, yeah.
I mean, we had 29 sprinters there last year for that show.
Yeah.
And the super late models, we had, I want to say it was 42. So, and then we had a lot of B mods and our sport mods, and it was really a good show.
And Lucas Oil practice after those features.
Lucas Oil practice and USMTS practice. And then them two cap off on the 21st and 22nd with the Silver Dollar Nationals. And this year we've changed the purse a little bit. We're paying $53,000 to win the Lucas Oil late model race. We're paying $10,000 to win the USMTS race instead of $6,000. So I was down in Arizona last week, and there's a lot of guys talking about coming that I've never been to your track, but I got to come there this year.
Well, you and I were talking about it. Sorry to interrupt you, Dirk, but you and I have been talking about with Tony Stewart announcing at the Chili Bowl that he was planning on racing at least 71 dirt dates, and a majority of those being late model races. I can't imagine he would pass up a $53,000 payday.
Well,
we can't say he's going to be there. We don't know until.
What we do have to remember is I used to be a racer, and racers aren't always meant to be the smartest person.
I'm going to save that. I am saving that.
So with the USMTS, then, are you going to pay $5,000 2 nights, or is it going to be one feature for 10?
It'll be double heats, the same as the super late models like the Lucas Oil, and it'll be one feature, $10,000 to win.
So you're changing their format along with the purse.
Yes.
Okay.
In the $53,000, it's worth mentioning that's in honor of your dad.
That's in honor of my dad.
Running that 53, the number 53 for so long.
Started that number for our family, and we all had it a little bit somewhere along the line. We all tried to race it when we could. The 28th of July, we run all NASCAR, and August 4th. August 11th, we're taking off. There'll be no racing on August 4th. August 11th will be no racing. August 18th, we'll be back with NASCAR action. August the 19th and 20th, anybody can come out that day. Kenny Wallace is going to be there running the racetrack again on the 19th and 20th. Doing the driving experience.
Cool.
On August 19th and 20th. So pay attention, get your tickets bought for that. Last year they sold out on Friday before they even had a chance to. People was showing up to want to race on Saturday and they couldn't get in. So anybody wants to get in, they have to get into that. Friday, August 25th, the Bill Smith Memorial, put on by Speedway Motors.
Yep,
That's been a great show every year. And that'll be with the 360s. Sunday, September 3rd is championship night. We will add GATRA as championship night. Then we come down to September 30th is our fall brawl. It'll be the Nebraska 360s, the Malvern Bank Super Late Models, and the Mod Lights will be there that night. Then on October 12th, 13th, and 14th. October 12th, there'll be parking and practice, and if I have a rain out somewhere along the year and I need to throw it in on the 12th, be our Cornhusker Classic. We'll do something there on the 12th. And this year, I'm trying to get that one to pay $10,000 to win the modified show.
Wow.
So
that's a big one.
That's
a big show.
But last year was 6,000, and
there was 230 cars that came to the Classic last year. You said that Thursday is the kickoff to it. It's going to be the parking to get everybody in
we'll be
and
getting
set.
The parking so we can have it. I'd like to get over earlier on Friday. Last year we were parking, and we're supposed to be running hot laps, and people are trying to get there so they can get registration. I wasn't parked. I wasn't this. So we're going to run practice. Maybe some of the people will get there and get parked, and I hope they don't wait till last minute, because that kind of slugs the show down a little bit.
Does.
But
it does.
we're gonna have a good payoff for that, and have that be our final weekend, October 12th, 13th, and 14th.
That's usually all classes, right? Compacts, hobbies, stocks.
That will not have super late models or no sprint cars at that.
Okay.
That'll basically be all the other classes, the bragging rights, late models, the stock cars, B mods, A mods, compacts, and the hobby stocks.
Everything Joe just talked about, I'm sure you can find it on the Facebook page. They'll get it posted today being Sunday, and then they'll get it posted on the I-80 Speedway page. Get your season tickets in advance now. It's a heck of a deal. You can get tickets to every single I-80 Speedway race. Reserve them in advance. Make sure you got your tickets. I-80Speedway.com tickets. When do season ticket sales go on? They'll probably start here in the next couple of weeks.
They'll be in the next couple of weeks, yep.
Good. We'll be back here in turn number 4. We're going to finish up the show by talking about the Malvern Bank Super Late Models. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Welcome back to the show. Heading into turn number 4, and it's time to get to the Malvern Bank Super Late Model Series. New brand, new name, same great series coming to a dirt track near you. Talk about that in the offseason, that Malvern Bank has decided to step up. They increased the payouts for all the races, and they wanted to take over the entitlement sponsorship.
NASCAR got Monster, and Joe went out and got Malvern.
There you go. We got them both.
Yeah. So now it's not the SLMR series brought to you by MalvernBank.com. It's now the Malvern Bank
Super Late Models.
Super Late Models. So we're all going to get used to that entitlement sponsor name.
That's the hardest thing, is trying to change something like that. But
yeah.
Yes, the Malvern Bank Super Late Models, and I'll tell you what, I'm really excited. Jay stepped up this year again, helped get the back spots from $300 to $400 to start every race. He helped out a whole bunch there. Of course, his point funds and that, big behind us. And we hope that all the people will start dealing with Malvern Bank, because the more people deal with Malvern Bank, the better off it is for all of us racers. Well, and you can do it from your home.
Well, there's the great thing about Malvern, as far as I understand, Jay and Malvern Bank are the only ones in the area that's a local bank that will finance for a driver's hauler.
Yes.
So if you've got a new hauler in the off season and you're wanting to buy it, but you just need to finance it, go into U.S. Bank or Bank of America or Security State Bank or Great Western, the 15 different banks that are in this area, they're not going to entertain you. Jay will take your business and he'll work with you to make sure that it's a fair deal and you've got yourself a nice new hauler for the 2017 season.
And his interest rates are really within reason of any place that you can go to.
Can't say it enough. Keep the money local.
Keep the money in our racing.
Right, absolutely. All right, when's your kickoff for the Malvern Bank Super Late Models?
Our Malvern Bank Super Late Model starts out on Friday night, May 5th, Crawford County Speedway, Denison, Iowa. And Saturday night, they go on May 6th, they go to Junction Motor Speedway in McCool Junction, Nebraska. Then they're off for a couple weeks, and Friday night, May 26th, start of the 3-day weekend for Memorial Day, they go to Rock Rapids, Iowa, which is just up north of Sioux City a little ways. On Saturday, they come down and cross back over the bridge and river and get into Norfolk, Nebraska. And on Sunday, May 28th, they're going to be at the Raceway Park at Jefferson, South Dakota. That finishes out our month of May. We go into June, and we've got the June 2nd at I-80 Speedway. We have them with the 410 Sprinters again. June 10th, they're at Adams County Speedway, and this is going to be something new this year. Adams County's going to have USMTS with the Malvern Bank Super Late Models.
Cool.
So it's going to be called the Malvern Bank Duel. So that's pretty neat because Malvern Bank, of course, is helping out with both races, trying to keep us all together. Following weekend, we go to Lakeside Speedway in Kansas City, Kansas. So I'm happy to get down there. I mean,
you guys haven't been down there for a few years, right?
That's a popular place to want to be. Yeah. Good place to want to be.
And when did you say that was?
That's Friday, June 16th.
Okay.
And then we leave from there. We go Saturday on June 17th. We travel back west a little bit over to Topeka, Kansas, just north of Topeka to Mayetta, Kansas. We'll be at Thunder Hill Speedway on Saturday the 17th. And as of right now, tentative on the schedule, it's Heartland Park, Topeka. They got a little quarter-mile track there next to the drag strip, and that'll be on Sunday night the 18th as soon as they get the board of directors and everybody all okayed, unless they decide not to have it. So it's tentative on that June 18th. Okay. 2 weeks later, we go down to start on Thursday night with a 3-day race weekend. We go to US 30 Speedway on June 29th. We go to US 30 Speedway. Then on June 30th, we go to I-80 Speedway again. And on July 1st, we go out to Junction Motor Speedway in McCool. So that hits us a good 3-day weekend. Then we're off till the Silver Dollar Nationals, the Thursday night before the Silver Dollar Nationals. We come back a week later, and we go down to Winston, Missouri at I-35 Speedway in Winston, Missouri on July 29th. Then we hit our month of August. We go August 5th. We go to Park Jefferson. I think they call it Park Jefferson International Speedway, but it's Park Jefferson Speedway up there in Jefferson, South Dakota on Saturday night, August 5th. 2 weeks after that, we come back and we go to Adams County Speedway in Corning, Iowa on the 19th of August.
Okay.
The week after that, we go to Junction Motor Speedway in McCool Junction, and then we hit the month of September. We hit another double weekend on September 8th. We start out on a Friday night at Eagle Raceway in Eagle, Nebraska. September 9th.
Is that the Eagle Cup? I believe that's
the Nebraska Cup.
Or the Nebraska Cup, excuse me, yeah.
We'll be there at the Nebraska Cup. I believe they're having the SSN, the Race Savers, and the super late models, and there was one other class, and I don't remember what. It's a wingless, it's a show out of Missouri, a wingless show that they bring up from Missouri.
Yeah, Stan was telling me about they're trying to do a deal to be able to do something like that. But yeah, that's we'll talk about that with Stan in a couple of weeks when we get him on for the Eagle schedule. But
well, that's what's happening at Eagle. We go there on the 8th, and then on the 9th, we leave Eagle Raceway. We go up to Norfolk, Nebraska, up to Off-Road Speedway up there. Them guys have done a great job building that new racetrack a year ago. So we're going to be up there for the Bob Hossey Memorial. That'll be a 2,000 to win race for our series. And then on September 30th is our championship night. We'll be at I-80 Speedway during the fall brawl. That race, I've already told them that we're going to have a $10,000 increase purse for that race. It's our 10th year. Part of the deal with us getting with Jay to get this thing set up for him to sponsor it. So we're going to be at I-80 Speedway on the 30th of September and hopefully crown our champion that night. And I'm hoping it'll be at least $500 to start the race and maybe $3,000 or $4,000 to win. So
awesome. And you've got a new driver, probably a couple of drivers, but I know of one guy for sure that's going to be joining the Malvern Bank Super Late Model Series, giving up his A-Mod ride. Jesse Sobbing coming over and racing full-time for the Malvern Bank Super Late Models. If
all the guys that tell me they're going to come and race for the Malvern Bank Super Late Model Series this year, we've got some people. We've got Junior Coover out of Norfolk, Nebraska that wants to come and race with us and try to race the whole series. Luke Cochran has put up a bonus for anybody who wins 2 in a row. They get paid an extra $777 from Home Pride. So that's a great sponsorship come on board this year.
And you said that last year only one driver did that.
One driver done it twice, I believe, is how it went.
Okay. Otherwise, yes. And the way it works is that if somebody wins 2 in a row, then they get $777. If they win a third one in a row,
they get another $777.
A fourth one in a row.
Until $7,777 is gone.
Yeah, until the pot's gone.
And if only 2 people do it again this year, and we can keep that pot big, that $7,777 will be done with some kind of a King of the Hill race during the championship weekend at the Fall Brawl.
Awesome.
No, just did the math real quick, and that last 7 on there, that 77, that last 7 never gets paid except for that thing. So you're going to have at least $7 left over.
We're going to have at least $7 to run that. We've got that figured out. We'll have at least $7. We might have to do a pit pass drawing for $7 or something.
Maybe somebody wins the Nebraska's Best Portenoli
There you go. We'll get it figured out one way or the other. But also this year during the season, we've got a deal with the Bill Rick family that it's going to be the Bill Rick
Rookie of the Year, right?
Year, and that's going to be $1,500 to win the Rookie of the Year this year for the next 3 years. And I think it's going to be really neat to have that part of it, because I'm getting guys now going, can I race for Rookie of the Year? Can I race for Rookie of the Year? And really, there's not a lot of stipulation. It'll be in the rule sheet there. But
have you figured that out yet? If you have to, you can't have raced a minimum of so many races in previous seasons?
We've always had it for when they're racing for the rookie, because the rookie does get a coat. They do get some accolades every year, but the rookie cannot have raced over 5 races. So if they've raced 6, they can't race for rookie from there. And also, it's kind of like one of them deals. I don't want Scott Bloomquist to say, I want to run for Rookie of the Year. So anybody who's basically won, and I've got to write it out, but if they've won some kind of big races or a number of big races, I'm probably going to say, sorry, you can't run for Rookie this year.
Is the 5 races the previous year or 5 races total?
5 races in any one season.
Okay, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Yeah.
Get more information on the Malvern Bank Super Limos. I got one more question for you. You were talking about the Heartland Park. It's a tentative date right now for June 18th. I know you're really set on staying right around 20 dates. You don't want to have 21.
That is 21.
That is 21.
That is 21. I didn't want to have 21, but they booked as a tentative and said, I have to have this much time. And we had a couple of dates booked after that said, I'll take it. Well, I want to make sure I've got 20. So I'll go to 21 if that's what's needed.
Okay. And that's kind of a nice thing, because you want to make sure, A, and keep it regional so that guys aren't spending a bunch of money hauling a long ways away, and B, they're not on the road all the time, traveling and away from their families.
Well, that's what this series was built on, is trying to be local, close, the best we can do. And we've got a couple races where there's a little bit of travel, but I have to base it out of the Omaha office. So I said, we'll try to go 180 miles. Let's circle 180 and see where that takes us. And basically, it takes us to all these tracks. I want to say Kansas City, if you look at MapQuest, is 181.
Yeah.
Well, the Pospischels that live up in Norfolk, that makes a long tow for them.
Right.
But when we're in Norfolk, everybody else, even from Omaha's coming 90 miles, they're not getting any miles. So, when we go to Rock Rapids, we got to go that 180, and they're going maybe 80. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of all works out.
Doing a good thing, trying to do your best to keep money in the driver's pockets, because it can get out of hand really quickly that they're spending on gas money and on hotels and on expense food. And so a good thing you guys got going on there.
Well, doing a good job of putting more money in the racers' pockets, too.
Absolutely. I-80Speedway.com, the main landing page has a link to the Malvern Bank page. You can get tickets in advance. You can get racer information, driver profiles, and a full schedule. Joe, always do love having you on the show.
Hey, now that may not be the Malvern Bank late models on there. It might say SLMR on it yet until they get time to get it changed. But basically, this weekend's when all this will start getting its big change and getting everything out. So I hope everybody learns it as well as I do. Malvern Bank Super Late Models. Greatest series in the Midwest.
Now we got to get you set on it's the Monster Energy Cup Series.
I
not
still
the
say
Winston
Cup.
Not the Winston.
I'm with Dirk. I'm still back at Winston Cup. I haven't got past Sprint Cup yet.
Working on Mike Nichols to be our legend for next weekend. We'll also sit down with Brendan Gaughan, who's trying to make the Daytona 500. We'll do it all again next weekend. This has been The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
The official watering hole of The Front Stretch has you covered any day of the week with the best wings, great burgers, and amazing steaks. Each weekday from 4 to 6 is happy hour, featuring $1 off draft and well drinks plus $4 Luberitas. Mondays are kids' night. Tuesdays are all-you-can-eat wings for $12.95, and the lube even delivers to the Council Bluffs area. Like Quaker Steak and Lube Council Bluffs on Facebook for a full list of weekly events.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Mid-America Drive, Council Bluffs.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs is the high-octane excitement you've been looking for. It's the Metro's largest indoor track with eco-friendly, low-emission engines. You can enjoy fast-paced road course racing just across the river at Joe's Karting, located near Bass Pro in the Mid-America Center on 23rd Avenue and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. Open Monday to Thursday, 2 to 10, Fridays until 11, Saturdays 11 to 11, and Sundays noon to 8.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.